Note this, the intermediary model in all sectors is maturing, and the insurance business, despite being 100 odd years old, is going through a maturation process, definitely in the go-to-market part of the world. Now, when an industry matures, it's textbook, it happens the same every single time. Here's what it looks like. You have this happy little high margin business in the middle, we call it Happy Land. And Happy Land is defined by geographical barriers to entry. Happy Land is defined by, we've been playing golf for 15 years and that's how we do business. Happy Land's described with like a lack of transparency around commissions and money. Like, it's a beautiful place. And then something comes and disrupts Happy Land, right? And usually it's a new competitive model, or technology, or compliance, or uncertainty and volatility, but there's like a wedge that gets shoved into Happy Land. And the only thing that matters, truly, in a clarity and alignment sense, is that you don't try and stay in Happy Land. Because when the disruption happens, it sort of forces the business models in one of three directions. You end up with a volume-based business model, which is a price-driven one. You end up with a services-based business model, not service-based, services-based business model. And then you end up with a niche-based business model. We're using technology as an example. This is Dell. This is IBM. This is sort of Apple. Or this is Walmart. This is like, I don't know, Trader Joe's. Whole Foods, probably a better example. And this might be Super Target. And there's a bunch of people that try and stay here. The way the world used to be, they hold on to their past at the expense of their future, and the land of Happy Land becomes the land of the boiling frog. Do you remember that metaphor? Like in the 1990s, all the management consultants were like, if you put a frog in cold water and then you heat it up, you'll kill it. But if you throw it in the hot water, it jumps out, right? It's this idea that change is really slow. And it just chips away at you every single year. Your margins get worse, it gets harder to win business, procurement get more involved every single year. And it used to be every 5 years they'd put the business out to RFP, now it's every 2, and then slowly it chips away. Anyone familiar with this pattern? Right, we're seeing it all through the intermediary, all across, like not just in your sector, all across value chains. And here is my encouragement to you, is that you can play price, but price in this business will become technology, right? Do you remember, think about those on the retirement side or funds under advisement side, and just think about that. Think about the impact ETFs are now having on the managed funds business. And it was 30 years since Vanguard really pioneered that kind of model, so took a little while. Now there is a net outflow from managed fund to ETF-based models, and it's just all volume. Instead of charging 2%, then became 1%, became 0.8. What are they charging? 0.06, 0.07% on funds under management now. I mean, it's mind-blowing. And they're making a fortune. There's margin. Do you think Lockton's headed in that direction, yes or no? There will be no brokers in that model. Does that make sense? There won't be enough margin for an intermediary in the value chain. Now then there's a services model. Services is when you go, so this is IBM. Remember when Lou Gerstner took over at IBM and Wall Street put all that pressure on him to break it up and sell it into little parts, and he's like, no. Our most valuable thing is our relationship with our client. Let's figure out how to sell them more stuff. So we said we're going to be the end-to-end player. I don't think that's where Lockton will go either. You're seeing some of the RIAs go in that direction and take over go after some of your space. I think where you're ultimately going to end up is niche. Now, people think niche means small. Niche does not mean small. Would you say Apple's a small business, yes or no? It's the most valuable company, essentially, depending on what the price of oil is in the world. Niche doesn't mean small. It just means we're super clear on our value proposition. Now, if you go back to that list of changes that Brian mentioned, and I summarized it a little bit in my remarks too, what do you think the underlying theme of the future of your client's world is going to be? Uncertainty, volatility, complexity, ambiguity, VUCA, whatever metaphor you want to, acronym you want to use for that. Would that be fair to say that that's probably defining our client's future, yes or no? This is the single greatest thing that could happen to a broker model in the world, because where there's complexity and confusion, there is a need for expertise and advice. And where there's a need for expertise and advice, there's margin. Simple as that. But what made you an expert in 2005 is not what makes you an expert in 2015. Is that fair? And what an expert looks like in 2020 You watch. My prediction is people will get narrower and narrower and narrower because the level of expertise they need will have to get deeper, deeper, and deeper. And you will find that you are deep experts in a very specific thing and you grow the geographies under which you probably sell. That's my prediction. Comes with a caveat. I'm a focus group of 1. That means don't sue me in 10 years if that doesn't work, right? But this is what happens, right? You get narrow, narrow. So I think it's a really good thing, the disruption that's happening for your business model, and I think Brian shared pretty similar sorts of sentiments. But it means one thing for you. You have got to move further and further away. You have to be multiple standard deviations from normal, right? You can't be an average broker with average knowledge. You can't. You have got to be the go-to person in your space. And if you look at your leaderboards and you look at who's at the top of their game, they are experts in very specific things.